We have entirely too many plants. I'm driving home from Randall's place. Randall is Flomaton famous on YouTube, and he was babysitting my plant nursery. I have all these plants in pots that I've collected that don't have a home yet. All these trees from seed and cuttings that we started and plants that people gave to me. I have a loquat tree that Karen gave to me, and then Randall gave me more loquats. I have got entirely too many plants to take care of, and we've got to do something about it. They've got to get in the ground because this is insane. There's an entire trailer behind me, 20-foot trailer stuffed with plants, and the entire back of this van that isn't occupied with my children is also stuffed with plants. Too many plants.
That's really gross. Sorry for that visual.
You love law like that on Vanderpump Rules. Terrible. It sure is. But on top of that, gas prices have been skyrocketing. I can't believe how expensive gas has gotten recently. Prices.
Hi. I'm David the Good. This is called the People's Broad Fork. For normal people. People like you and me. People that are weak and can't manage the whole big 14 one and definitely don't want to touch one of those farmers ones. This is the People's Broad Fork for little people, tiny people, people like you. Oh, but it has almost the strength of a giant broad fork. I have not been sponsored to say this. This was given to me because I'm handsome and have little noodle arms. Soft, sweet, feminine hands. Order now.
Space is a place on the dark side of the moon.
My friend James came over the tractor to till up this area for the grocery row gardens, and I went out to the hardware store to go pick up a bunch of pipes because I thought I'm gonna run, like 150 foot of pipe down from near the house down to the end here. And then when I came back with this big bundle of pipes, I turned the sink on to wash my hands and there was no water, and I found out that apparently there's a pipe all the way down here at almost exactly the spot that we were going to run it to, and it got hit with the tractor and broke off the joint that was coming out of the ground right here. So the water is actually coming out of here. So the water feed apparently is coming from somewhere way down by the street, and it came up here, which is bizarre because just this last week we were broad forking and we broke it way down at the other side, like 100 feet beyond here, 150 feet. And that's where I thought, okay, I'm gonna tap in over there where we broke it and run it all the way down here. But it's also down here, and now I have all that piping that I totally really don't need anymore. But this is actually really easy because we don't have to dig. It's already here, so this is perfect. And it was right at the actual perfect corner of where the grocery row gardens are going. So he tilled right down to this corner, and then pop, that pipe went, and the water came out of the ground, and it was a miracle. And it saves us actually tons and tons of work. Cool. It could be way worse. What happened if we hit the electrical line on the tractor? Probably put it that way. Safety first. Good job, thank you. So test for how high it needs to be. how does it fit a 5-gallon bucket? We'll go about here. It's easy to put stuff underneath it. If the ground goes up a little bit, get a little bit lower. Right about there. It's the plumbing channel. When my grandpa did plumbing, he made everybody leave the house because that's when he lost control of his language and he didn't want his children to be permanently damaged. So far, this has not been bad. But when we had a leak coming out of the ceiling the other day, that would have been a good time to send everybody out of the house. Hey guys, come over to help. There we go. You could just turn it off and on now, right here in the garden. That is so cool. That's exceedingly satisfying and much faster than running all the pipe and digging the trench. I should just till the rest of the yard and figure out where the pipes are. It took about 2 hours work to do this area, just this little spot right here, because the grass was so thick that breaking through it with the broad fork, we broke through the grass just fine. The broad fork is a champ for breaking into it. But trying to shake all of the dirt out of all of this grass and pull all these stolons out of the ground was very, very time consuming. So we have this beautiful fluffy area right now, but man, this is actually, it's harder because of the grass. The grass is so incredibly thick, which tells me that we're probably going to have really thick crops as well. But this area behind me now got tilled before we even finished all of this. So this area right here, back here, is going to be the grocery row gardens, but that will be another video. For now, this is how far we've gotten. We've got a little area for our kitchen garden, and we'll have some fresh crops right here, and we'll probably put beds in all the way to right here, leave a pathway right here, and get a good little kitchen garden for the stuff we use the most right here, and then we will move our way out into the grocery row gardens.
I'm driving with the top down, baby. Rain won't stop me. I'm high on black coffee, baby. Your blues won't rock me. I'm planting on the seat cone, baby. Some girls can't stop me. I'm cranking up the bass and baby, and you can't drop me.
Welcome back, gangsters. This is the grocery row, the GRG with the DTG. We're rocking it today. 4 foot, 3 foot path, 4 foot bed, and a 3 foot path. Probably there should be some heavy set gentleman behind me doing the beatbox part. The reason we tilled first was this was a big, thick area of grass to break up. This is about 70 feet long by 49 feet wide. It's a large area. So if we had had time ahead, we could have put down tarps to kill the grass and then done it in segments. Or we could have sheet mulched the entire area one piece at a time with about 10 dump trucks full of wood chips and the complete cardboard production of a medium-sized Walmart. However, Time is of the essence as we need to move plants, and we've got to get in everything for fall. So tilling is the fast way to do it. And after we tilled, we measured off the space here to get the beds going. So I mark them off one bed at a time, and simply I've got my 4-foot wide bed, and I want a 3-foot wide path, and then another 4-foot wide bed. So to make a nice soft mounded bed, we simply rake out from the pathway space and pack it up onto the bed, and then smooth it out to make what would be a pretty nice vegetable garden bed like this. And man, there's a lot of sod in here, so I'm glad it's been dry, because that's going to keep this from regrowing as aggressively as it could. If we had tilled and then it had rained for a few days, this would be a disaster.
Sugar pie.
One of the most important things when you put in a grocery row garden is to bury a sacrifice. No, I'm just kidding. We had a goat die on us, and so she's ending up in this grocery row. There's a huge amount of fertility in a dead animal. You can put that on a t-shirt. But you didn't come out here to watch me bury a dead goat, did you? No. You came out here to see what we're doing in these grocery rows. The first two over here have been installed. Some of these were transplanted from the previous property, which is why they don't look that hot, because it's been super, super dry. And we had to break a lot of roots off to get them in here. So these ones that are sticks here, those will recover. I actually hand stripped the leaves out of a lot of them when we transplanted. And these have been mulched. And I'm leaving these pathways bare because I want to plant them with a cover crop. So we put on our wood chips through here, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Every 12 feet there is a tree or a plant that's going to get pretty big to be an overstory. So chestnut right here, this will be an interesting experiment. 1, 2, 3, 4. Peruvian apple cactus right here, which we probably could have put in between. It'll grow tall, and then you go another 12 feet. And this is a seedling loquat from Flomaton famous, from an improved variety of loquat, which looks like I'm gonna have to stake up because the winds have been blowing everything sideways. So the trees are at 12 feet, and then in between we have shrubs, and then along the two edges we'll put in our transplants from my little transplant bed that I made in a previous video. So we can put rows of vegetables in here and get production in just a couple of months while we're waiting for these trees to get bigger. It's one of the benefits of the grocery row gardening system is you can get food almost right away. So over here, this hasn't been planted yet, but you can see how I do it. I go and I pick out plants. The fig from a friend. This fig is here. This is a goji. and another goji. So at 4 foot, there's a goji, and 4 foot, there's another goji. This area will become a mess of gojis pretty soon. I could probably just put one in there because they will go crazy if they're happy. And then this is a little seedling plum at the 12-foot mark. Here's 6 foot Rosa rugosa, a nice spiny rose that makes rose hips. And then we got a peach right here. So that's at 12 foot from the plum. This is an edible Elaeagnus or silverberry. Makes a little edible fruit like gummy berry. Moringa, blackberry, no, that's a mulberry. Looks kind of sad. Raspberry, and then another fig at the end. So the orchard layout is here, and then you put your shrubs in between, so you go up and down. So the entire thing is corrugated. The idea is to get a whole bunch of edge. We know that the forest edge is the very productive part of the forest. That's where it's meeting the meadow. So you get a lot more sunshine and a lot more energy flowing through that area. So it's corrugated in the sense that it's a whole bunch of rows, up, down, up, down, up, down. So there's a gap and a space. A gap and growing, and then a gap and then more growing, and then a gap and more growing. So there's airflow through here and sunlight through here. And then in the rows, it's tall tree, smaller shrub, tall tree, smaller shrub, tall tree, smaller shrub. But even the tall trees, we're not gonna let go past about 8 foot. So they don't shade and cut out the solar energy that's running through the entire system. So that's the basic overview of how the grocery row gardens work. And as these things get in and planted, it's gonna be spectacular. And as you can see, we've got 1, 2 here that are done. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in my previous system, I had 6 that were about 60 foot. Here, I've got 7 that are about 80 foot. And we may extend them further down in there, I'm not sure. There's a black cherry right here that I liked where it was. I just decided to leave it alone. So I ended the first one with that, actually lined up the first one off of that cherry, and then built out from there. And we've got water at that back corner, so this is really a good setup, and I think this is going to be spectacular. It's just been very, very dry, and it's gone from being super hot now to getting cool overnight. I don't know when we're going to get our first freeze, but I think we're going to get some fall vegetables out of here once we get the rest of it planted and transplanted over from the previous property. So you can stick around with me and follow those videos as we do that. Also, speaking of sticking around, Scrub Fest 2022 is coming up. I will put a link to Scrub Fest below if you are in North Florida and you want to meet me there, North Central Florida. I am doing a 2-part food forest masterclass along with another friend of mine, Mark, who is going to be presenting on the best fruit trees for a food forest in Florida. So it's going to be a ton of food forest information. Plus, we're going to get to tour through the Scrubland Farms nursery where he's got a bunch of excellent edibles. So if you want to sign up for that, there is a link below. Children get in for free. Adults are $40 each, and it's going to be worth every one of those $40 and probably much, much more. Now, if you're really cheap, or if you live in the Panhandle, I am going to be giving a talk at the Gulf Coast Homesteaders Meetup, which is coming up at the end of October. So middle of October is Scrub Fest, end of October is the Gulf Coast Homesteaders Meetup, and I'll put links to both of those below. And also, if you want to join me on freesteading.com, I will put a link to that as well. That's a new social media platform for homesteaders. Thanks for joining me. I'll catch you all next time. And until then, may your thumbs always be green. Gosh, stop you. Do you have those pliers still?
You loosened it up for me, so now I can probably get it off.
This is ridiculous.
I usually
They
do.
never work right.
Usually I have to use channel locks. These probably ain't gonna be big enough. But
Oh, you could do. Do you see?
You loosen
That's
it.
not going on camera. Thanks, dear.